Hello, today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to dye Rubik's Cubes. This is the one I'm dyeing. It's a 2x2 and I tried doing it first and this is my second time doing it because it was kind of patchy the first time. But in this tutorial you're going to need some very hot water. This one's boiled, it's in this pot right here. It needs to be extremely hot, like just off the pan. And you're going to need 100 milliliters of acetone and 1 tablespoon of synthetic dye. It has to be this brand, and it has to be the synthetic kind. You can use any color, it doesn't matter. But as long as it's this brand and this kind, this is the only kind you can use. Then this is a tablespoon of this, 100 milliliters of this, and we need 200 milliliters of hot water. Once we do that, we need a Tupperware about this size, about 1.5 inches high. It doesn't really matter how long, preferably like 8 to 10 inches in length, because you want the dye to evenly disperse throughout the pieces. First, you get your 200 milliliters of very hot water. You pour it inside your Tupperware, and then you measure out 100 milliliters of acetone. Exactly 100 milliliters, perfect. Put it inside your hot water mixture. Then what you're gonna want to do is get a spoon. Mix up your acetone and hot water mixture. Make sure it's really mixed up, like so there's no disperse. And then what you're gonna want to do is grab your dye that you're using, and you're gonna need 1 tablespoon. So make sure to measure out 1 tablespoon. I'm gonna do it over here. Okay, I'm only using I'm only using 1 tablespoon in this. Then you want to mix around the dye. Here, come show this real quick. You're going to want to mix around the dye inside the acetone and hot water mixture. Then you can use your spoon. Make sure it's really like mixed and dispersed. You're going to want to do this on top of a towel because, as you can see, some dye might fall out because it's kind of messy sometimes. Then what you're going to do is grab your plastic that you're trying to dye. Make sure it has no plastic caps on it. Make sure it has nothing else that you're trying to dye, that you're not trying to dye. So then grab all of it and put it inside. Try not to splash it. It can happen sometimes. And then once it's in, make sure to grab your spoon and kind of just mix it around and flip the pieces over. Because as you can see, it doesn't fill up all the way because this is only one of the recipe, but you can double it by adding 400 milliliters of acetone and 200 acetone, 400 hot water. But yeah, and depending on how dark you want the color, you can use 2 tablespoons. But a technique that I like to use is I like to tilt the container over, so that way I have a bigger amount of space where the mixture can cover the pieces. So you make it sit there for about 30 seconds to a minute, and make sure they're all evenly covered, and make sure you mix them around, so that way they become the color you desire. Because if you let the pieces sit in the mixture longer, it'll get darker, and that's not good. But try not to let it spill. That's not the best. But yeah, I'd say it's almost done. They look pretty good. I'm gonna give it a few more seconds, let it mix around, sit in the mixture. Okay. Make sure no pieces are attached. And your water, like I said, needs to be really hot, or else the dye will end up patchy. And mix them around, because sometimes if you have a magnetic cube, they'll stick to each other, and then the plastic will be touching, and that space will be not dyed. So yeah, I think it's been in here long enough. So once it's been in here long enough, you want to just bring it over to the sink. Come over here. And you're gonna want to take anything out that you're not trying to dye, because it will dye just about anything. And you do not want to dye your dishes or anything like this. It'll especially dye something like this. So make sure you have a very open sink. I like to use a big sink because especially if it's stainless steel, it won't dye anything. And then what you want to do is just cover it with your hand, because you'll dye your hand, but it won't be that bad. And then you just carefully pour the mixture down the drain. And then what you want to do is just let it sit for about 5 to 10 seconds without the mixture in it. If any of them fall, just pick it up. And you want to let them sit like this for like a few seconds, like I said, because you don't want to immediately put cold water on it, because then it'll ruin the dye. So once you've rinsed all the dye down your sink and you're all good, you're going to want to rinse them off pretty lightly. Rinse off your pieces. Make sure you're using cold water. Don't rub your pieces like I did. Make sure all your dye gets out. And you want to keep rinsing your pieces over and over until all the water and the dye is out. You don't see any more color in your water. See, like now there's not very much color in my water. Mix them around. See, my hand's kind of dyed, but it's okay. It'll come off. Make sure all the water gets out. See how there's if I put water inside of it, all the dye is on the cube now, and it's not in the water. All the water's clear. So now make sure all the water's out. You can turn off your water. Make sure there's no liquid inside of your container. Kind of like this. So now what you want to do is bring it over to your towel station. Close up all your stuff. And you can just lay them out like this. Make sure that they're in like the right position to where they can air dry. I would suggest letting them out to air dry for about at least overnight, depending on how long, because you don't want to get dye on any like the inside of your cube when you're done putting it together. So I'm just going to leave this out like this overnight. But yeah, that's about it. They're all dyed. They're really well done. Looks really good. A lot less spotchy and like patchy as it was before. Looks great. Super deep red because I left it in longer. So yeah, thank you for watching this tutorial. This is how you dye a Rubik's Cube. Thanks, and bye.